Hey everyone, it's Bethany with ABQ Creations here again with another tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to make one of the easiest baby blankets ever. And it's super adorable. It has a great pattern and texture to it, but it's so easy. You'll memorize the pattern right away and you'll be able to just whip it up in a few hours. The reason I came up with this blanket is because I had a close friend who had a son who was having some health issues, and he was having trouble self-soothing. So she asked if I could come up with something, and I knew a little baby blanket would be the perfect thing for him to snuggle with and kind of comfort him. And it worked like a charm. So ever since then I've been really using this pattern. It's fantastic for sticking their little fingers through all the big holes and snuggling up with it. And I didn't worry about him suffocating himself or getting wrapped up in this giant blanket. It ended up just being the perfect thing that they could take along to their doctor appointments or wherever they needed to go, and they always had it on hand. For today's tutorial, I will be making this small Lovey size blanket. However, you can convert it and add on chains at the beginning to make it a wider blanket and turn it into either a full-size crib blanket or even a full-size blanket to fit on a twin-size bed if you really want. To follow along with today's tutorial, you will need a crochet hook. Today I'm using a size I. If you want the holes to be bigger, I suggest you size up a hook. You can go with a J, no problem. If you want to make the hole smaller, then I would suggest you size down. Yarn. I'm using Lion Brand Pound of Love in the color Antique White. And I am also using Loops and Threads Snuggly Wuggly yarn in their light pink. Scissors, a yarn needle, and a tape measure. This one's actually optional, just if you want to have your blanket be a specific size and you need to measure your gauge. Let's get started. Let's start with our slip stitch. And we're going to chain on in multiples of 4. So I'm going to do, so for my little Lovey blanket, what I'm going to do is chain on 56. If you were going to do a full-size blanket for a baby, you'd probably want to chain on somewhere around 160. But again, it totally depends on how big you want to make the blanket. I find that for baby blankets, you don't want to make them too wide. You want them to be small enough where if they really get attached to it, they can carry it around easily, and that kind of seems to be a nice number to start with. If you want to measure out how wide each section is of 4 stitches and then calculate out from there how wide you want it to be specifically in inches, then you can multiply it, do a little math, and figure out exactly how many you'll need to stitch on if you need a very specific size blanket. Now what we want to do is in the 4th chain from the hook, we're going to yarn over it, we're going to do a double crochet into that 4th stitch. Then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to do a single crochet into that same stitch. Okay, so we actually want to do the same thing now. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches, and into that 4th one again we're going to do a double crochet, chain 2, and single crochet into that same stitch. So we're going to continue that pattern all the way across until we get to the end of the row. Okay, so we finished our first row, and this is what you should have at this time. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to chain 3, turn your work, and then into our double crochet loops that we created with the chain 2 at the end, we're going to work into those. I should say the chain 2 loop. So you're going to yarn over and do a double crochet into that loop, and then again we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to single crochet in that loop. So again, we're going to find that next loop, we're going to yarn over, do a double crochet, then we're going to chain 2 and do a single crochet. So we're going to continue that all the way across, and I'll meet you back when we're finished with this row. So coming up to the last stitch, we're going to do our double crochet, chain 2, and single crochet. Then we'll chain 3, and we will turn our work, and then again we're going to do the exact same thing for the next several rows until you finish your blanket. So we're going to go into that chain 2 loop, we're going to do our double crochet, chain 2, and single crochet. And the next one, double crochet, chain 2, and single crochet. And you can do this for as many rows as you like, again until it's at the desired length. I'll go for just a few since I like to have it be a nice little blankie that you can just throw in your purse or diaper bag and carry along with you in case your little one gets fussy. So, and then I'll come back when I do my color change in between. I'm going to make this into a striped blanket. I've reached the end of my 4th row, so now what I want to do is change colors, and I'm going to switch over to this light pink. In order to do that, I went ahead and I did my double crochet and then my chain 2, and I started my single crochet, but I'm going to finish it, instead of closing it off with the white yarn, I'll go ahead and close it off with the light pink, and then I'll pull down, and it'll just make the color change look a little bit smoother. So I'm going to tie a knot in those ends. Okay, and then we can go ahead and continue with this yarn. I'm going to cut off the white. I'm going to go ahead and chain 3, and I'm going to try to weave in my pink ends as I go. And then I'll weave this in when I'm finished with my blanket. So again, we're just going to continue on as if we had never changed colors. And just continue crocheting until you're finished. I'm going to continue my pattern of doing 4 rows of each color, and then I'll switch back and forth just so it'll have a little bit of striping in the pattern. But you can stick to one color, you can do as many as you like and change it up, but it'll ultimately just give a nice little pattern at the end to the little blankie. I'm going to go ahead and finish that up, and I'll meet back with you once it's done. I have finished up 4 white sections, or the cream color, and I have done 3 sections of the pink. I feel like that's a pretty good length for a carry-around blankie, a little lovey, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my last single crochet, and then I'm going to just chain one at the very end. I usually do. You don't have to do that. I just like to kind of close it off. So then I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn and pull it through. And now all that's left is to go ahead and weave in my final end. If you didn't weave in your other ones, your other ends as you crocheted along, just go ahead and do that. And then once it's done, your little blankie is all set to go. So now that end will be nice and secure. And there is your little finished blankie. And this works great for boy blankets too, so it's not just for girls, but it has a great texture to it, a great pattern, and now the little one can run their little fingers through it, and it's a great comfort. We call it tickling. I'm sure there's 1,000 names for it, snuggling, whatever you want to call it. But my kids love putting their little fingers through the holes and then drifting off to sleep. Thanks for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any other requests or suggestions, I'm happy to hear them. Just list them in the comments below and let me know what you think.